Marco Rubio. He's like, I'm not taking it. I got these crazy students that are trying to be massive agitators all around the country. Well, guess what? I got the law on my side thanks to a 1952 piece of legislation. He has actually already revoked 300 visas. And he said there's more coming. I want you to listen to him himself. He's talking about one woman that he took her visa from, and they're deporting her out of the country. And he's like, yeah, we get around 300. Because there's no reason we should have people who are agitators who want to do harm to America here in this country. Like, it's a privilege, thank you very much, to be able to study here in the U.S. A privilege. Remember that. Here's Marco.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
Thank you. Like, finally, some sanity in the world. Things have gotten crazy. Oh, Mountain Goddess, thank you so much. She says, Trish for POTUS 2028. I'll tell you, I admire everybody that's getting into the political arena right now and doing the right thing. I want to welcome 2 new team members here. We have Ricky. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you on the team. And I think we have one more member as well. Let me go over and just welcome Wesley Holloway. Thank you for being here as well. Great to have you here on the team. You know what? We exchange ideas here. If you got ideas, send them my way. I actually read all the comments. Believe it or not, I do. So make a comment. Anytime you see a video, do that. Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, is saying, listen, he has all the authority in the world to deport whoever he wants to deport if they are agitating in America. So you get these students, or anybody, frankly, who comes here, and if suddenly they turn into a rebel that wants to take down the country in some way, shape, or form, however that may be, whether it be protests, whether it be agitation on college campus, whether it be these, op-eds. I mean, they just don't have, let's be honest, like they just don't have exactly the same set of rights as an American citizen. You're here as a guest. It is a privilege to be here. And so he says, and he has initiated deportation proceedings against any non-citizen whose presence in the United States he can reasonably deem a threat to the country's foreign policy aims. And so that gets back to, the guy at Columbia, the 30-year-old with the pregnant wife, 8 months pregnant, who's been leading, he's from Palestine, he's been leading all these protests against Israel, making Israeli kids and Jewish American kids feel extraordinarily unsafe, to the point where they actually had to cancel classes at Columbia. Think about that. They're canceling classes. They're canceling graduation because of this guy who is here on a student visa because he's a guest in our country. He gets to call the shots and shut down an entire university. You think that's fair? I don't. And you know what? Here's the law. It was introduced in 1952. It was, of course, during the Cold War era, and it allowed for the U.S. to bar or deport immigrants suspected of communist affiliations, and it gave the government broad authority to exclude or remove people for their political beliefs. Now, let me be very clear. McCarthyism was awful, right? I mean, like, we all know that. And it was sort of like we lived for the last 4 years during Biden in a reverse kind of McCarthyism, because if you were a conservative, you were like persona non grata, and they wanted to shut you down and make it so you couldn't make any money, and just everything bad that you could possibly associate with McCarthyism back in the days in the 50s basically was then transferred over, and it was wrong and it shouldn't happen. But let me just say this. What he was onto was not wrong. That there are people out there that hate the United States of America. There are people out there that want to do the United States of America harm. And there are people that will take advantage of our generosity and come here and try and stir things up in a way that's extraordinarily negative for the country. So I give Marco all the credit in the world for going back into the law books and finding the 1952 Immigration Act, which gives the State Department and the government overall this broad authority to exclude or remove people for their political beliefs. So that's a big deal. If you're a threat to the country in some way, shape, or form, if you're a threat to our foreign policy, then you're out. And there's going to be a lot more coming. I mean, 300 already with more on the way. He has signaled exactly what's going on. You think about how our academic system has just been manipulated and corrupted. It's awful, right? I mean, you can't even say Columbus Day anymore. It's National People's Day or whatever. I'm trying to forget all that, right? Let it be a thing of the past. I mean, Thanksgiving is taught as a whole different thing now in school today than it was. Oh, I just found this one out. Let me make sure I get it right. Because you can't use before Christ, BC anymore. It's actually BCC. I was a history major. At Columbia, incidentally, but I guess I'm that old that they weren't doing this at that time. So I had no idea what it was. I called my mom one day. She was a history major as well, specialized actually in Chinese and Russian history because, she was during that Cold War thing. And I'm like, have you ever heard of this? Do you know what BCC is? And that is the new term that the kids are using because you're no longer allowed to say before Christ, because somehow that makes Christ the center of the universe, and we can't be so, it's not politically correct to say this. I'm like, are you kidding me? But this is where school is nowadays, which is why I am proud of my affiliation. Let me just tell you, this is a wonderful organization. Herzog Foundation and I have partnered up because they have a whole program for Christian education here in the country, K through 12. And if you have a child, if you have a grandchild, if you have a niece or nephew, this is something to look at. They're a wonderful foundation. They've got all the resources to help guide you in your local community to figure out what the alternatives are to the public school system. Now, Trump's doing a lot to try and change it and getting rid of the Department of Education for starters, but there's a lot more that can be done. And in the interim, right, what do you do with your kid? You might want to look at a Christian education, and Herzog can help you do that. So go to Herzog Foundation and sign up. It's all free. You get all this information. It's well worth it. They have a podcast. They have a publication they put out daily, The Lion. I just highly, highly recommend it. I'm proud of this affiliation. It's one of the greatest things I signed up, in my estimation, to do this year. So check them out when you can.